What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. This is going to be the full story of Carnage issue 1 through 8 by Torrin Groundwork. Carnage fought his way across the multiverse. We saw him ascend to godhood. He created the All-Blood, his Necro Spear, a weapon powerful enough to kill the gods. He has been amassing power. He has been preparing for the ultimate war. He wants to take down Eddie Brock. He wants to take down the King in Black. But he's also searching for so much more. With him returning to Earth 616, we see that he starts to build up a church. He starts to build up worshippers and followers. Because the Venom War is just on the horizon. The epic battle that seems to be Eddie Brock versus Dylan Brock. Father versus son, King in Black versus Venom. And we have Carnage that is paving the road that is going to lead us directly there. So, make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, alright guys, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up at the Nexus of the Gods, a place of divine fellowship. We see the soldiers are decapitated, they are cut in half. Because Carnage has been wreaking havoc. He has made his way through these corridors, and he has made his way to the Lord Librarian. Carnage has come to the Hall of All-Knowing. He has come here seeking the answers that all come to seek. But the Librarian lets him know that he does not have the courage to articulate the questions he wants to ask. Carnage came to learn if he is a god, and while he would say that he knows exactly what he is, that he has conquered all the weaknesses of the Symbiote, that he has the powers of a god, the immortality of a god, he has made himself what he is. And yet he still stands before the Lord Librarian. He has come for answers that he already has but asked the wrong questions. The Lord Librarian going on to say that if you are a god, who prays to you? Who worships you? What is your doctrine? What were you created to do? This conversation ongoing while Carnage is also just ripping soldiers to pieces. But the Lord Librarian has a secret weapon, the black hole within his staff. It is his last line of defense. For a millennia, he has protected this library, and he has never had to use it. Asking Carnage, what is your purpose? He takes that staff and he plunges it right into the chest of Carnage. He doesn't know where this will take Carnage, except for far away from here. The Lord Librarian is not one to judge gods, though he will on occasion. He knows the difference between devils and gods. More often than not, it's a question of perspective. But later on, he will think back to this and wonder if the wisdom he denied Carnage could have changed what would come. But it would not. He doesn't understand that he gave Carnage exactly what he came for. As he travels through dimension and time, the black hole pulls the symbiote apart, but Carnage is not scared. The pain is nothing new. As he lands on the other side, he finds himself back home. He finds himself in Rikers Island. This is where it all began. A prison inmate sitting here in a cell with where Carnage had landed. Carnage tears this man apart. He eats him whole, and then he regurgitates the body, using the blood and flesh, using the guts, the cell, the DNA, the biomatter. He reforms this prisoner, transforms him, spliced with an imprint of the man who was here decades ago. This is the rebirth of Cletus Cassidy. With this Cletus being reborn, the memories seep into his mind. Memories belonging to another Cletus of another time, but trusting this other. Carnage holds nothing back. He believes that they were not ready before, but they are ready now. This is what picks us up with Flash Thompson. It has been a while since we have seen him, but it appears that his life hasn't been necessarily going great. He's doing the day-to-day, he's working the 9 to 5, but with Carnage's arrival, Flash Thompson, he can feel it. He's not sure who or what this is, but something is wrong. Something is off. As we pick back up with Cletus, getting all the information that he can possibly get, the 21st century rushes in. Cletus looks at the world as it has become, decades of progression, and Cletus Cassidy lying dormant, the imprint of a man stored deep in Carnage's DNA, is now hungry. This is where Cletus goes into a small diner. In his hunger, Carnage has found the thing that he is missing most, the need. It is the human desires to live, to act, to mate, to kill. His purpose overtakes the symbiotes. This is beyond a bond. Carnage and Cletus consume each other. They are one. As Cletus sits here and orders his food, the young waitress listening to a podcast. It is a crime podcast, talking about murders, the victims, everything in between. And Cletus finds this very interesting, asking her why she would listen to such a thing. She says that it's fascinating, almost like it makes her feel prepared. And it's simply the mystery of all of it. Cletus seeing this as the mystery is the key, thanking Sarah for everything that she did. He can feel the weight of godliness on his shoulders, but he finds that he is equal to it. As he sits here for hours, a plan forms, a doctrine, and he now believes that this world is ready to feel carnage. This is what picks us up 2 weeks later. We pick up with Flash Thompson. He has been waiting, part of him wishing that whatever is causing his symbiote senses to tingle would hurry up and get here already, thinking that it couldn't possibly be as bad as he imagines. But we see him suit up and he heads out. This is where we pick up with a man named John, a war veteran who never left the war. If you were to ask him about his friends, he would list the names of dead men. The only thing is that he can't end his own life. He hasn't been able to muster up the courage to do so, but he also can't move on from his horrific experiences. This is where Carnage comes into play. He saw the relief in John's eyes as he died. Carnage thinking to himself that maybe, just maybe, he is a merciful god after all, carving some symbols into his chest. The religion has begun. This would not be the first victim, and it definitely wouldn't be the last. As we pick up in prison, we pick up with Philip, 19 years old, taking his father's AR-15 to the local gas station. He had killed 4 people, including his ex-girlfriend. He had intended to die in the process. He was going to sacrifice his own life to prove that it mattered, only to find that it didn't. This is where Carnage comes to him, and Carnage has come to pray. As Carnage says a prayer, in moments, this kid is dead, and it appears that what he has been doing, what Carnage has been doing, is marking his victims with a number. This one appears to be number 11. This is where Carnage goes to Nathaniel Jones. The world thinks that this man is a special man, staple of Western society, and Carnage believes that this man is special, but not because of who he is. A man with so much wealth, a man with so much fame. He is only special because the world believes that he is. And sometimes, belief is all that matters. This is where we pick up in the middle of the city. Nathaniel Jones has been trapped inside. At first, everybody believes that this might be some kind of publicity stunt. The tech billionaire trying to get his name out there, trying to get some attention. On this glass box, what we see all over it are the writings of Carnage. To us, they don't really make sense, but to Carnage, this is his doctrine. Nathaniel Jones having a number 12 etched into his chest. In this box, it begins to fill up with a liquid that begins to boil his body alive. The boiling liquid slowly dissolving his skin. As the people watch, they quickly learn that this is not a publicity stunt, but what they are watching is worship. Streamed and documented, scripture in the making, all for the world to see. At this point, Flash Thompson has come to recognize what is happening. He knows that he is here. He finally understands. As Nathaniel Jones is being live streamed to the world, this is the announcement. This is the invitation. It is Carnage. It is Cletus Cassidy welcoming everybody to church. Some words that I thought I probably would never say, but we're going to talk about that more as we get to the end of the comic. As we dive into this one, we pick up with that guy who's on YouTube, non-mainstream media type stuff, and he's talking about the hidden messages that Carnage has been sending. The list of names that Carnage gave everybody. They are slowly being found dead, murdered. The question now remains, where is the last missing apostle? Where is John? This is what picks us up with Carnage and Cletus Cassidy. Carnage has made his way down here, now looking like Cletus Cassidy, and he finds Cletus atop his throne of bodies. Cletus asking what all of this is about. Is he trying to be a god, or is he trying to be a god butcher? The way Carnage sees it, you need one to have the other. But Cletus goes on to say that you are so silly, your little imitation. He even felt him come into the world. He knew that Carnage was coming for him, but he tries to let Carnage know that we're not the same. That Carnage is nothing more than a copy, flawed by the limitations of its maker, the limitations of Carnage. As Carnage goes to put pity onto Cletus, this is when Cletus opens up a valve and he lights this whole room on fire. And Carnage laughs at him, that if this was your plan, what did you think fire would do to me? The truth is, he expected more from Cletus. But Cletus simply laughs at him and says, I expected more from you as well. You call yourself a god butcher, but you can't even kill an old man. This is where Carnage grabs Cletus up and he swallows him whole. But then Carnage recognizes that something is wrong. Cletus did something to his body. Meanwhile, Flash Thompson has been watching the news. He has been investigating everything going on, and he knows that this is Carnage. The dead disciples, the dead marks, the internet is alive, the excitement. It is infectious. It is almost like a game, but there is no winning. The best thing that they can hope for is this game to stop. Picking back up with Carnage. He can feel his insides burning. Not sure what happened to him. Not sure what Cletus had done. He spits Cletus up. Cletus knew that Carnage would try to eat him, and so he pumped himself full of poison, concentrated antibodies, the closest he got to anti-venom. He thought that it might kill him, noting that it is hard to kill Carnage, just like it is hard to kill Cletus. But he must wonder, if Carnage is the god, then who are the devils? Carnage going on to ask Cletus if the pain hurts, because the antibodies, these are just a temporary inconvenience. He says that had it been anti-venom, it would have been a different matter, at least for now. Now, this is a weird comment to make considering Death of the Venomverse. We saw him fight multiple anti-venoms and they did nothing to him. But Cletus is finally coming to understand what his plan is, to get rid of all his vulnerabilities and then do whatever he wants. But Cletus says that there is a reason they don't kill ants or rats or cows, that they're too easy. If you're invulnerable, will killing still feel the same, or will you have to start killing gods and superheroes? This is where Carnage pulls out a razor blade. He slices Cletus's leg so that he'll bleed out, and then he begins to lobotomize, taking that blade and opening up the skull of Cletus. He lets him bleed out long enough until all the poison is out of his body, and then Carnage devours Cletus's brain. Every bit of him absorbed. His spirit, his logic, everything that makes Cletus Cletus is now Carnage. This is what picks us up with Flash Thompson. Anti-Venom has made his way to a location where he believes Carnage is going to pop up. He looks at the place and everything looks fine. He rings the doorbell and nobody answers. He opens up the door just to get a peek inside. He can smell the faint scent of feces and blood. Carnage knows that he's gonna do the right thing, because in a world of disappointments, Flash Thompson, he is not disappointing. He will do the right thing himself. With Flash coming into the room, opening up the door, and turning on the light. When he turned that light on, the last apostle, his head explodes as he is tied down to a chair. Alright gang, so as we dive into this, I do want to let it be known that this is kind of the prequel to everything that is going on with the Symbiosis Necrosis, the Venom Carnage crossover event that is 4 issues taking place right now, starting with Venom issue number 31. This story picks us up with Flash Thompson. Flash is one of the few individuals that believed Carnage had returned, and so he has been investigating himself. He has been tracking the clues, he has been trying to find him, and he found him, but it was all a trap. Walking into a room, a man's head explodes. Enraged, Flash rushes out of the building. He sees Cletus Cassidy, with Cletus going on to say that he is the one that called the cops with them on their way right now. Flash is trying to figure out what the heck he is up to. As the two of them begin to have a conversation, Cletus is really letting Flash know that me and you, we're a lot alike. At the end of the day, no matter how you cut it up, we're both murderers. But he really wants to know how Flash is alive, because Flash Thompson is dead and buried, wondering if this is a reconstruction made by the symbiotes. And if that were the case, why would the symbiote make you so pathetic? Why not remove the memories that torture you of all the things that you have done? With all of his flaws, why would it make him whole again? After striking Cletus in the face, Cletus continuing to toy with him. This is when Flash recognizes the smell of lilies, the visitor pass on his chest. Cletus has been at the home of his mother. Without hesitation, Flash takes off. As he arrives here, he sees that his mother is in a very weakened state. There is radiation in her body that is melting her from the inside. And so he does the only thing that he can think of. He grabs hold of his mother and the symbiote starts to take over her body. He knows that this is part of Carnage's plan. He simply doesn't care. He will do whatever it takes to save her life. We soon learn that all of this, everything that Cletus is doing, is so that he can find out where Eddie Brock is. With the anti-venom cleaning her body, regenerating broken cells. This is something that should be easy, but Carnage chose his poison well. It takes everything that Flash is. This is weakening him. Whatever comes next, he knows it's gonna be brutal. His mother's life has been saved, but then he hears a scream. As Carnage throws a woman from the roof, anti-venom grabs hold. He saves her life. And that is when Carnage attacks. With Flash in such a weakened state, this is not any kind of fight. This doesn't mean that anti-venom doesn't fight back. He's simply too weak to do anything. But this is all part of Carnage's plan. You see, he needed him weak enough to where he's not going to do serious damage. But the longer that they touch, every single second that they fight, Carnage is gaining a little bit of power. He is evolving. He is becoming something new. With every single strike that Flash throws, the anti-venom becomes less effective. He is slowly building up a tolerance. The anti-venom is becoming a part of him. With the two of them intertwining, Carnage welcomes the anti-venom. He welcomes the symbiote. For a moment, they are the same. They are one. They are fighting control of the mass that they make. Their minds merging, bonding. And in this, Carnage searches for the answers to his questions. Where is Eddie Brock? Where is Venom? And then he sees the image of Dylan. This is where he learns it. The other child. With Carnage saying enough, a loud boom and the two of them are separated. He has learned that Venom is with Dylan. Eddie let Venom bond with his son. Anti-Venom going for one last Hail Mary pass, he grabs hold of Carnage. He tries to snuff the life out of him, but that is when Carnage places his hand on his chest. And we see the anti-venom symbiote disappear. Using the dark force, he encapsulates him. And while the powers are unknown to him, he's still learning them, but we can see that he can definitely use them. He has put Flash into the void, and in this moment, he has never felt more like a god. But with Venom bonded to Dylan Brock, he says that Dylan is going to pay for the sins of his father, and he hopes that going to Dylan, going to Venom, will bring Eddie Brock. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with a cop. On his way to work for the day, this is where he runs into Cletus Cassidy. The cop doesn't know it at the time, but this is going to be the last person that he ever talks to. Seeming a little bit off the wall for its opening pages, all of this will make sense as we get further down the line. But to make sense of it, we have to pick up later that day. We pick up with Dylan Brock trying to get a job, with his father disappearing, him only being a teenager. He has no money, he can't buy groceries, he can't pay rent, he can literally do nothing right now, and so he has to get a job. This is what leads him to a job on the docks. Moving boxes from one place to another after about 30 minutes, Venom is already getting bored. He is sick and tired of doing this already. As one of the other employees goes into the other room, he opens up the door, and what they find is an absolute bloodbath. Written in blood on the ground, saying, "Where is Eddie?" Venom feels Dylan's shock. The shock, fear, and disbelief. What he finds here is his backpack that was at home. Someone has been to the brownstone. In Venom's mind, there is no one else that could have done this but Carnage. In that backpack, there is a bomb. Venom drops it, and he goes flying out of this place as it erupts in flames. Now, this is unique because we haven't seen Venom using the wings much, thinking that maybe this was just a feat that he had when he was with Eddie Brock, bonded to Eddie Brock. But it appears that this is something Dylan can also use. Now they need to go get some answers. This is what leads them back to the brownstone, back to the apartment. As they get on the rooftop, someone is tied to the door. The landlady is tied to the door. Here with a message for Venom saying, "Where is Eddie?" Rushing down into the apartment, this is where they find that cop, strung up, appearing to be bleeding out all over the place. As Venom investigates the scene, something someone had said, innocent deaths is always unpleasant. This is something that they said back in the day. Eddie's words. All those years ago, the man that he had killed, he knows where to go. This is what takes him to Our Lady of Saints Church. This is where Eddie and Venom met. That back then, they weren't good. The misery and the instincts together, they did so many bad things. Carnage knows this. As Venom goes inside the church, Carnage demands to talk to the boy. Dylan's face being revealed, Carnage now confirms that this is not Eddie. He thought maybe it would be Eddie, maybe Eddie would come and run and save his boy. This is where Carnage kinda tries to relate to him, saying that he knows what it's like to have bad parents. Parents that kinda just don't care, give up on you, and you realize that your parents are just people. Flawed, miserable people. But asking, "Where is your father?" Dylan continues to let him know that he doesn't know, but he is under the impression that Dylan can call out to him, asking if this is what Carnage really wants. And what Carnage says is what he wants is to kill, and that Dylan's gotta understand how it is to kill. While Dylan will say that he doesn't kill, Venom has. Venom knows how to. This is where he goes on to let him know that the symbiote, Venom, is keeping things from you. There are memories he's not allowing you to access. That if you are truly bonded together, you would know how it feels to kill someone. You would feel everything that he has ever felt. You would know every secret that he has ever kept. This is where Venom comes out and he gets ready to attack Carnage. But then Dylan gets yanked up. A bell ringing, but Venom doesn't hesitate. He jumps up and he grabs him. The two of them falling down to the ground. This is when Carnage takes his opportunity and he stabs Venom in the back, asking him, "If you bleed, will Eddie come for you? Will he come save your life?" But Venom tells him that he doesn't need saving. Though Carnage wasn't talking to him, he was talking to Dylan, who is going to save Dylan from Venom. Why would Venom lie to you? Why has he kept these secrets from you? Would Eddie Brock even be a killer without you? Or what about Anne, Dylan's mother? Where would she be if she never met you? Carnage says that she would be alive, telling Dylan that he will show him what he truly is. He will show what Venom is. As the two symbiotes begin to intertwine, battling one another for dominance, with Venom and Dylan both bonding back together. This is where Carnage takes his opportunity to dive into their minds, to find out where Eddie is. He sees the hive mind, and then they dive into the mind, the memories of Venom, of what happened to Anne. The guilt of killing someone would be the beginning of her end. When Carnage steers their thoughts towards Eddie, they feel his depression, his desperation to keep Venom out. But deep down, Dylan is hurt. Dylan is angry. Dylan is ready. Carnage pulls Dylan from Venom. What hurt Venom the most in this is that Dylan, he didn't resist. Now in the clutches of Carnage. He tells him that he usually kills for joy, but when it comes to Dylan, this is a mercy killing. As one of the spider legs of Carnage pierces through the back of Dylan, it rips through him. As the world around him fades, Dylan expects to see some kind of light, something to guide him to whatever comes next. But there is no light, only the freezing blackness, the black goo swallowing him up. And then Dylan falls. Dylan lands in the unbeyond. Dylan has made his way to the eventuality. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are kind of tracing the steps back of how he did all of this, how Cletus set everything up, believing that Eddie Brock would show his face, only for it to be Dylan and Venom. He wants Venom to be scared and ashamed as he stalks Dylan Brock, following his every step, seeing what he's up to. Carnage is plotting away, kidnapping people, preparing them for the little game that he's about to play. He has one goal on his mind, and that is to kill Eddie Brock. Both Eddie and Venom, no matter what the cost. They will smoke them out however they need to. For them, murder is theater. It's a play, a story of Venom, a story of Eddie Brock. One that he is carefully staging for an audience of one. We see the events that transpire at the warehouse when Dylan Brock first gets a job. All of his co-workers absolutely massacred in seconds. And Dylan doesn't hear a single thing. By the time he realized something was wrong, it was already too late. And then the game was afoot. Written in blood, where is Eddie? This is what leads them back to the church. This is where the grand finale would take place. He sees Dylan coming in alone. No hive, no toxin, no sleeper, and no Eddie Brock. This is when he goes in on Dylan. We see the fight transpire, Venom trying to attack Cletus, with Carnage and Venom going blow for blow. And then he brings up Anne, Carnage reveling in Venom's fury. And then he makes Dylan see. He breaks into their minds. He flips through their memories like pages in a book. He can feel Dylan's despair like it is his own. Venom kills, Anne kills, Eddie kills. But in Dylan's memories, he finds the answers. Eddie Brock is out of time. Eddie says that he will go back into Meridius's garden and he will replenish his flesh from it. Now Dylan has no idea what any of that means, but Carnage does. Ripping Venom away from Dylan, he now knows that Eddie is not in the now. He is hiding in time, and so he kills Dylan Brock. Having no more use for him, he impales him. But somewhere inside the symbiote, Cletus Cassidy feels a rush of uncertainty. He wonders if Carnage is keeping secrets from him. He feels the same pull that Carnage does, feeling the temptation, the call of the water. This is where we see Carnage rip away from Cletus, and he attaches himself to Dylan Brock, with Dylan and Carnage slipping away to the eventuality, slipping away into the dark waters. And in these darkened waters, this is where Carnage is able to swim, fighting to break free, and when he does, Carnage breaks through the flesh of Meridius, and the god now arriving in the garden, he has come to end the King in Black. Gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with Venom doing what he can to preserve Dylan's body. After Carnage stabbed him, he was leaking all over the place. But Venom is able to stabilize him. He's not able to heal him, but he can repair. And once his body is repaired, he's got to find somewhere safe for him to go. He has done this for Eddie in the past, when Bedlam had stabbed Dylan in the chest. At that time, he was able to catch Dylan's soul. This time, he was too slow. Dylan is dead, and his soul has gone. It has gone to the eventuality. Carnage grabbed on for the ride, and he found himself in the Garden of Time, 10 minutes before the end of everything. And Guard Carnage now stands face to face with the Kings in Black, with Carnage going on his little villain montage, if you will. Eddie wastes no time, he rushes in and he punches Carnage. And this fight is underway. But with Eddie charging in, Carnage is able to put his symbiote down his throat, filling his body full of carnage. While this is happening, of course, Carnage is talking. He talks about how the punch actually hurt him. It actually caused him pain, connected with him on a spiritual level. He had seen in the mind of Meridius already, while he was chewing away from the inside out. Meridius thinks it's what would happen if Daddy Venom was left in his son's care. The final evolution, as we see Carnage explode out of Eddie's body and Eddie just disappear. Tyro, Wild, and the others trying to figure out what they're gonna do about this situation, with Finnegan transforming, becoming even bigger. He goes toe-to-toe with Carnage, only he's not doing this alone, hollering over to Bedlam. The Bedlam still fighting each other in their minds, but he is able to get his attention. He tells him to stop playing with himself and get over here, because the real fight is about to go down. asking which Bedlam wants a piece of him. With both of the Bedlams melding together, they all want a piece of Carnage. The two of them together, they lay down some hate on God Carnage. They are relentless. They hold nothing back. And while all of this is happening, we see the Hand of Meridius starting to form back together. Tyro and the others go over there to dig Meridius out. And while Carnage is getting his butt beat down, he is laughing. This is when he does his big reveal. The Necro Spear coming out of the chest of Carnage and piercing Finnegan. This is where we see Finnegan disappear into nothingness. Carnage then taking the spear and driving it right into the chest of Bedlam. This only killing one of the Bedlams, one of them still alive. And while he crawls away, barely able to stand, the others have gotten Meridius halfway up out of the ground. And Carnage acknowledges them, lets them know that I can hear you over there, and the best thing you can do is just stay and wait your turn. That he's gonna come for each and every one of them, because there is nothing left in the cosmos that can stop him. This is where we see Eddie Brock reforming, and Carnage finds this even more interesting. An Eddie Brock that he can't kill, but maybe he can if he really tries. With Carnage jabbing the Necro Spear into the ground, this entire place is made of symbiote. This is the moment the garden ends. Carnage, who is the death of the future, who wants to be the end of every life story, he now has the power stolen from other sources, forged from other realms, the power to shatter worlds, the child of Venom. When Venom entered this life, does he not end it as well? This is where we pick up with Dylan. Dylan now alive. His hole is healed. He now knows that it was all real. The eventuality, the 5 questions that he was asked there, everything that he saw, everything that he was shown. Wanting to have a conversation with Venom, but Venom isn't there. Believing that he is not safe for life, believing he never was, that the best thing he can do for any host is to leave, is to never bond again. And etched into the wall is the 2 words saying, "I'm sorry," with Dylan crying out for Venom. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we pick up with Flash Thompson, currently surrounded by Dark Force. He is breathing it in. It tears into his being. It rips him into tiny little pieces. Every breath stretches into eternity. And not long ago, Flash felt like he was running out of time. But here, there is nothing but time. Nothing but pain and memories. Ones that come without permission. And he relives them over and over and over. In the waking moments, he is doing what he can to siphon the power from the dark force that surrounds him. Preparing, hoping, and praying for the return of Carnage. And that's what takes us to Cletus Cassidy, a man left behind, nothing more than a host. A host without a heart, without his other, without any kind of purpose. Behind him, we have the body of Dylan Brock, and Venom is doing everything he can to bring him back to life, to try and save him. Venom is keeping the body flowing, keeping the blood moving through his veins. He keeps the flesh alive, because Dylan has gone to a place where Venom cannot follow. He has gone to the eventuality, and in there, Carnage had followed him, losing him somewhere in the water, somewhere in this darkness of time, of gravity and space, of emptiness and matter. With Cletus not having his symbiote, he starts to lose his mind, but he is able to observe everything that Carnage does, witnessing him being reborn in the garden, watching as Eddie has been killed, as a Venom is killed, the All-Blood, the Necro Spear, a weapon that is capable of killing even the gods. And in all of this carnage, the garden is destroyed. Cletus is able to see his others triumph, but he feels pain. He feels betrayed. So when Carnage returns, he tells Cletus that he found Eddie. He found him hiding in time. And though Cletus may be angry, he bonds to him and shows him exactly what it is that they have accomplished. He shows him the symbiotes, the Eddies, the coming Venom War. And so this makes Cletus feel whole again. But that anger and that pain It's still very much there. But as Carnage gets himself together, he goes over and he finds a woman that was waiting for confession. He considers killing her. A woman that says she's really ready to meet God. But Carnage sees her and he sees nothing but a boring old woman. A woman that hasn't really sinned, hasn't really lived life, hasn't really done anything of notoriety. An existence that is mundane. He tells her to go live, to go have some fun. Then he goes out and he finds a man and he picks a fight with him. He tells this man that you have the opportunity, you could simply walk away. Carnage is giving him a choice, that you could walk away from this situation or I could put you down like a mad dog. So when the man goes to strike, Carnage grabs him by the throat. And this is the moment, the hope, the delusion. He still thinks that Carnage might have mercy on him, even as his body dies around him, as he voids his bowels. There is still maybe a glimmer of hope until the moment that there is not. As we hop back over to Flash Thompson, he relives his life. 9 years old, mother cooking tomato soup in the next room, pretending to hear nothing. But while he sits here and relives this, he absorbs this dark force. He knows it might kill him, but that's always been the case. In the battles that he fights, his life is always on the line. While he tries to absorb this power, we see the man that Carnage had fought hanging up, carved into his belly. He made a choice, and it points to inside the church. That's when we see the man, just yet another one of Carnage's followers. Nobody of real notice, nobody of any kind of name, just a simple nobody that works at a grocery store. These are the people that Carnage will build his church from. And so with Carnage returning to Flash, he pulls him out of a memory, pulls him out of his captivity, and as he tries to taunt him, Flash has been building up that dark force power. He has been holding on till just the right moment, knowing that this could probably kill him, but for Agent Anti-Venom, that has always been the case. And when he releases this power, we see both Carnage and Anti-Venom shot backwards. Flash Thompson, he appears to be falling into a portal that is going to take him back to Earth. Alright gang, so as we dive into this one, we are thrown into the thick of it. Flash Thompson has fallen through the portal, landing in the middle of a heavy metal concert. Flash and Carnage are going blow for blow, and Carnage is really trying to bait out Anti-Venom. He is trying to get Flash to use it. And while Flash doesn't fully understand why, he is resisting. But Flash also knows that he's probably going to die here tonight. Activating his symbiote, we have the Anti-Venom. He makes his arrival, and now it is Agent Anti-Venom versus Carnage. He throws everything that he has at him, and with hope looking so bleak, at the same time, somewhere nearby, we have Misery, aka Miss Allen. She knows that something is amiss. She's not sure exactly what's going on, but she's going to go find out. And while she is trying to discover this, we see that Agent Anti-Venom, he is quickly learning that Carnage, he has an immunity. The Anti-Venom should be melting him, should be hurting him, but it's doing absolutely nothing to him. He is absorbing the Anti-Venom with ease. While he fights, we have Misery that is broken into Alchemax and found a prototype weapon. This is what she has been hunting. This is what she has been looking for. While she goes around, we see on the news that people are killing in Carnage's name. His church has been born. His disciples have come forth, and his messengers are spreading the word. Looking like this might be the end of Flash Thompson, that's when Miss Allen arrives. She fires that cannon, but in firing, she misses. With all the chaos, we have Flash who jumps for the gun, grabbing it mid-air and firing the weapon directly at Carnage's chest. We see it open up a god. And this is what takes us to issue number 8. That blast opening up Carnage, and it liquefies him. Disintegrates from within. No longer in control of his body, he cannot fight, he cannot flee. He can't even do anything. He simply disappears down into the storm drain. Flash rushing over to Misery to make sure that she's okay, and she lets it be well known that she is perfectly fine. Obviously, the two of them have a lot to discuss, but now is not the time. The police are on the way, and they're not even sure that Carnage is actually gone. And so you have to ask, how much can you lose of yourself before you turn into something else? Every part of Carnage has been broken many times over. His body is lost, yet his memories remain. His thoughts, his will, his consciousness, it seeks to echo through every empty hive. And it wonders, if he rebuilds himself once more, will he be the same or would he be something more? Now, deep in the tomb of the Dark Force, Flash had bargained with death, finding himself alive, finding himself without Carnage having to face off against. He starts to get his life back on track. He shaves his beard off. And while all of this happens, what remains of Carnage has found its next victim, grabbing hold of the homeless man and eating his brains alive. He seeped his way inside of this homeless man's body, and this is where he birthed himself a new one. As we see the symbiote recreate itself bit by bit, cell by cell, we have a tiny baby Carnage that hops out of this homeless man and attacks the person in front of him, giving him the ability to feed, getting those brains. We see Cletus Cassidy form from it, taking on the form that he so chooses. Carnage has found himself back with the land of the living, and now Carnage is ready to set the world on fire, saying that everything passes, murdering people left and right and leaving behind a message that says 2 weeks. Putting this out to the world, hanging up people by hooks. This is a call to worship. This is a call to action. We pick up 2 weeks later. We pick up with the believers of Carnage, the angry, the curious, the attention seekers, the media, the enemy. Among the crowd, none of them know it, but Carnage lurks in there. And here they are, eager and ready for battle, without knowing what they are about to fight. The best and worst of humanity in one glorious paradox. And then he begins to feel it. He begins to taste it. He sees the beacon of liberty, believing that maybe they're already ahead of them. But he's ready to get this party started. As two men begin to fight, this is when he lets his true form be seen. With Carnage coming out, he begins to lay down some hate. He cuts down every single person in his path. Cletus Cassidy knows 9 million ways to kill a body, and he loves every single one of them. Today, he is bait. He is there to draw out the enemy, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to enjoy himself. With the Beacon of Liberty soldiers coming out of the vehicle with those Carnage-killing guns, they start searching around for Carnage, but they can't find him. He's already gone among all the chaos. He was able to slip away. Not only was he able to slip away, but he grabbed one of the soldiers. This is when he goes into his mind and he searches for the answers. For who made the gun, what program, and who hired them. Now, we know it was Alchemax, what they call the K program. Carnage was able to get what he came for, and now also having the enemy's weapon in hand. This is where Carnage detonates a bomb and blows up a man right in the middle of that crowd. This is Carnage sending out the signal that the Venom War is about to begin. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This has definitely been a fun series. I have thoroughly enjoyed Carnage over the last couple of years. And like all the other Carnage series, this is definitely not over. This is a to be continued. We will be seeing more of him in the Venom War. We see him having his church, having the power of a god, having the capability to kill gods, to kill symbiotes, to kill anybody that stands in his freaking way. But Carnage is going for more than this. The war isn't necessarily going to be Carnage. It's going to be Eddie Brock versus Dylan Brock. Carnage is just manipulating the situation, and he is siding with Dylan, believing that taking Eddie Brock out of the equation will let him reach the true godhood that he has been seeking. But one thing is for certain, Carnage definitely earned it in this one. Hands down, he has killed Meridius, he killed gods, he killed the Garnet at the end of time. He had the All-Spear created, the All-Blood Necrospear created, and it is able to take out pretty much anybody. Carnage is more powered up than he has ever been, and this war is going to be insane. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that has been going on with Carnage, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's gonna get you completely caught up on everything that is going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you're unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.